Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 648. My opponent kicked off with e4. I played c5, going for the Sicilian defense. We get some normal moves for a while, knight f3. I go with d6. You see that's the top choice here. I also sometimes play e6. Not so much knight c6. That leads to Sveshnikov, Kalashnikov, and other lines like that, which I just don't have the experience playing. Let's see, I go d6. He goes d4, going for the open Sicilian. I take, he takes. And I go knight f6, attacking the e-pawn and encouraging him to defend. And he defended not with the normal move knight c3, but with the very rare move bishop to d3. And this move has kind of a weakness, which is that it leaves this knight undefended. So now I can play this move knight to c6, a normal developing move that I want to play anyway. And it comes with a kind of a tempo. He has to respond to this in some way. And the normal move here is to just take it. And if he would take it, white would still be okay. It's not a... I think white has given up most of the opening advantage here. Black is close to equalizing after this exchange. But, well, white still has something to play for, I think. Yeah, white has a little more space in the center. The development's about equal. This pawn structure, it gives me an extra pawn in the center. Let's see, I'll probably play e5 at some point. But it's a little bit fragile. It can come under attack. So so there's still ideas for white in this position. And, you know, any of these moves are probably playable here. So let's go back to the game. What he played after I went knight c6 was he went knight to b5. Oh, another possibility here, if you want to avoid the trade, is just going back knight to b3. The chess engine says that is okay for white as well. Not leading to any advantage, but not not getting in trouble either. So knight to b5 is just a slight mistake, and black is a little better the rest of the game, actually, even though I don't play the most accurate moves all the time. Anyway, I kick the knight right away, which is good. Force him to choose how he wants to retreat. I can go back to a3 or to c3. I don't think there's anywhere else. He went back to c3, and now he's kind of in the way of this knight. And when this knight comes forward, there's always this idea of pushing this pawn forward and threatening to fork. So that'll give me some more moves with tempo. Anyway, for the moment, though, I just went with g6, just preparing to develop this bishop along this nice-looking diagonal here, the dark squared diagonal. He goes h4 immediately. That's probably a second mistake. He hasn't really completed his development here. I haven't castled, and there's no real vulnerabilities on the king side just yet. But I decided to go ahead and play h5, which is okay. It just stops that pawn from coming forward further, and also control the g4 square, so he can't play g4 immediately. Although he could maybe play f3 and then g4 if he wanted to continue with his attacking ideas. But well, he went with knight d2. I go bishop g7. And he brings his knight over here to the king side. So he's blocked his f-pawn, which will slow down his pawn storm, if that was his idea. And then right here, I make a move which isn't that great. I go knight g4. I was thinking of doing this maneuver. And, you know, it's not that it gives the advantage back to white or anything, but it's not the best move here. The best move here is bishop to g4. And that's also a very natural move. That's like the last piece that I haven't developed. This is a pin, and it keeps that knight there in front of the f-pawn, which prevents white from getting some kind of pawn storm going. And I can come to e5 with my other knight and put more pressure on his knight. So that's the right way to play this position. Anyway, I went knight to g4. Like I said, doesn't give away the game or anything. It still keeps some slight edge to black, actually. But not the most accurate move. So, and then his next move, bishop d2, is a mistake. So let's see. What he should have played here is something like castles. And, you know, then I was thinking of dropping this knight back just to show how the game might have continued. He exchanges, and then and drops the bishop back to e2, preserving his bishop. And maybe at some point, when it's safe, he might consider pushing the f-pawn forward, kicking this knight away. It's always a risk, though, because the queen can come out on this diagonal and hit the king. So you have to do it at a time when it's appropriate, when it doesn't land you into hot water here. So the game would continue from this position, maybe still a slight edge for black. But white is surviving that. After bishop d2, his position is a little awkward, and it's strictly because of this move, queen to b6. So I didn't continue with my knight maneuver. I was sort of halfway through this knight maneuver, and I realized that there are things that the knight could do while I was sitting here. One of the things is it's looking at the f2 square, and so the queen on b6 comes out looking at the f2 square and looking at b2 as well. So it's a double attack, and white is going to lose material. The best line, and really what I was expecting, was from to castle. And I wasn't even sure I was going to grab that pawn in this case, but I looked at it with the chess engine, and that is the best move here. Go ahead and grab the pawn, and the queen can get chased around a little bit, and white can get a knight on d5, which is a good square for the knight. Maybe putting a little pressure on e7 there. I go ahead and castle anyway, and the bishop comes out to coordinate with the knight on e7. I can play e6. So I can kick the knight away, but it'll leave me with this weak pawn on d6, and the knight also can hop into here and trade itself off for the bishop. So all in all, white has compensation for the pawn. I mean, black's probably still a little better being a pawn up, but white can play this position, and the game would continue. But instead, I guess he didn't see all of the threats. After queen b6, he played the move knight to a4, hitting the queen and defending the pawn, which is a natural enough defense, and his bishops are covering these squares, so I can't move the queen and attack the knight, which is sometimes a response that you play in this kind of, in response to knight a4. But the queen has another good move here, which is taking on f2, which is checkmate. So anyway, yeah, you gotta stay alert in the game of chess. Try and absorb all of the threats. Okay, well, that's it for this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.